Hi everybody, it's Mr. Fossa with this week's lesson. You saw from our slideshow we're focused on color this week, and the challenge is to make a color wheel out of things that you find around your house, like the one you saw in my slideshow. So if you haven't looked at the slideshow, I would say this is a good time to stop, look at the slideshow now, and then come back and watch this video. The challenge is to make a color wheel, but it's really not in a way, because like you could, yeah, I mean, you can print a color wheel off the internet, or you can find one in a book. That's not that exciting. The real challenge is to have an experience like looking at colors, right? To see like how can we be as artists a little bit more observant about colors that we see around us all the time. Like for example, I have all these things that are, we would say like green, but look at all of the different greens. Some are darker, some are lighter, some have more yellow in them, some have a little bit more blue in them. And that's our goal really, is to study color a little bit this week. So when you make your color wheel, we need a bunch of objects. It wouldn't, like I get that like the obvious like thinking would be like, oh, I'll just go get something that has a lot of colors, like my set of colored pencils, or a bag of M&Ms, or some Mike and Ike's, or something that comes in colors, and then just like arrange them. That wouldn't be the worst thing. Like that's not, I can't say that would be bad, but a better idea would be to go around your house or wherever you can and find some things that come in different colors, and then the goal is to arrange them into a color wheel that helps us to see how colors are related. So again, pause if you need to, take a break, get some objects. I want to point out too, it's best to have objects that seem like they're a solid color. Like, so for example, if I'm looking at this is not a good choice because it's made of a bunch of different things. If I just want something orange, I want to take this guy's, or I don't know why he has a chicken leg on his head, I have no idea. But you just want his orange pants, so forget the other rest of it and just take the orange part, right? Like just like a single colored thing is better than something that has a lot of colors to it, when you're choosing your objects. I think for starters, it makes sense to start the way the color wheel starts, which is to think of like the three kind of cornerstones of it, the three what we call primary colors. They're the original colors that make up all the other ones. Yellow, and you can arrange them however you want, but a triangle, makes sense. Red, and the third one is blue, right? Hopefully you knew that. And then what I'm going to do is just start to think, okay, so what are the ones that come in between them, with orange being a mix of yellow and red, and with purple being that mix of red and blue, and then green being the mix of blue and yellow. So I'm just kind of like starting with that sort of an arrangement. And then what I want to do is with all my other my colored objects is to see like where do they fit in here. So for example, like I take something like this, this truck, and I'm thinking like, where does this belong? Well, if I were making this color using paint, it seems like I would use some orange and some yellow. So it seems like it's gonna kind of go in there. And those pants that I was talking about, well, they seem like a little bit more yellow than this, but not as yellow as that. So they're gonna go, kind of in there. And I found this cap, which to me, like in my mind's eye, is orange, but yet it's really, if I were to mix it using paints, it's get some orange and some red. So it's gonna kind of go in there. And it's funny that like some objects that we think of as everyday, sort of things like even just like a yellow pencil, we think of it as being yellow, but it's actually yellow with a little bit of orange in it. Same with this like hook. I think of it as yellow, but yet it's not there. It's really like there, right? Now, sometimes we see colors that are just lighter and darker. You saw that in my slideshow. So you have to think about what to do with that. I guess, I want to say, if you're a younger grade student or you don't have as much time, we can kind of like set those things aside. But I mean, if we want to, like I found this yellow pad of paper. It's yellow, but it's lighter than that, right? So maybe what I want to do is I want to make, maybe I could picture maybe like lighter colors in the middle, like darker colors out there as the color wheel goes around. Or you could just, if that's too much for you, you can just kind of like forget that. Same is true with something that's pink, right? Like pink is basically just red, but it's red with white mixed in, so I kind of have to decide where to put that. Or again, like if it's too much for you, just don't worry too much about that. Every time you come up with an object, what we want to do is think, like, where does this go? And I on purpose put this here to show you that, like, at first my mind's eye was telling me that's blue, but when I find something that's really like true blue, I realize I made a mistake. And you might do the same thing. So like I see that if this is blue, this is actually blue with a little purple in it, so that's going to be my blue. This is going to be my like bluish violet, really. And again, I'm going to start taking all my other colors and think, well, okay, this seems like it's green with a little yellow in there. Here's a little beaded necklace my cat plays with, which, seems like it's kind of going to belong in there a little bit. There's a carving tool I have, which seems it's green, but with a little blue in there. This is green. This is, to me, like a dark green. And I'm just kind of placing the objects around. That's really the goal of this project, is for you to find a bunch of objects and see, like, where in the color wheel do they go? Like, that's really what this is about. Some of your objects, like if you look, when I looked around my house, most of my things were either a ball or a cap of some kind. Like, that's what we had. But I don't know what you have. So look around, see what you have. If your objects are big, like these, that's fine. I mean, you can have a bigger color wheel. Make one on your driveway, make it on your table, whatever. Mine happen to be small. But if your objects are larger, that's totally cool. You're also going to find that you have things that do not belong on the color wheel. Like, for example, look around my house, I found some things that are, what we call neutral colors, right? Like gray and black and silver. Just don't use those. Or what you might do is you might place those, in the middle of the color wheel, because that's where a neutral color might go. Some of you might find, in these times that it's hard to find objects. If that's the case for you, you might do something like this. One thing that I've been doing is saving packages from foods that we eat, because you can cut these things up and make things out of them, like a mosaic or, some kind of a collage or something like that. So instead of throwing away cardboard, we've been saving it. And you can see how on this, like, Cheez-It box, we found, a really true red, which is kind of an interesting color. On a yogurt package, we found a purple, which I thought was interesting. And then notice when I go to my color wheel, I'm thinking, wait, it's not really purple. It's kind of like sort of in that red-violet sort of range. Notice that this piece was more from like a blue-violet range. I'm trying to figure out where it goes in there. And this is the fun of making your color wheels, to try to see, like, where do these things go, like, compared to this Cheerios. Where do these things go, compared to other color. Ooh, strawberry, that's a pretty good one. And so you might try that. Like, if it's hard to find objects, thinking about, like, pieces of a magazine picture or things in nature, like outside, anything like that would really work. At this point, what I want to say is have some fun. Remember, the goal is not to make a color wheel. Like, the goal is to study color and be observant about color. So what you might do is spend the whole week making your color wheel. Don't think, okay, like today I'm going to spend 30 minutes making this. That's not that exciting. But if you spent the whole week doing it, what would happen would be you would spend your whole week looking at objects around your house, and finding things that fit on your color wheel in a certain place. That's going to be way better. And if you have other, let's say, brothers and sisters, maybe work on one together, and that way you can talk about, like, where the things go on your color wheel. I know that people watching this video are all different ages, so, like, if you're a third grader, you would have to think, like, how many objects is an interesting challenge for me in my color wheel. If we just think of, like, the basic 6 colors, that's not a challenge. But if you think of maybe, like, how many do we have here? Like, maybe 20? Or, if you're an older student, maybe, or you're working as a team with your family, maybe like 30 or 40. Like, really push yourself to find objects, because that's what's going to make it fun for you, is to really just look and be observant as an artist about the colors you see around you. I would love it if you took a picture of your color wheel. Obviously, these are important objects, some of them, important objects around the house. So we can't just, like, keep them. But if you photograph it, like that becomes, a piece of artwork in itself. And if you could send those to me on my Google Classroom, that would be really neat because I could post them for everybody else to see and we could all see what everybody's doing. I hope this sounds like fun for you, and I hope you have a great week. Have a lot of fun with your color wheel.